All right, let's go ahead and jump in. We are here for our first of many summer webinar series, and we've got a great one because we're jumping into systems around the 5 sources of business that you should be working and winning with right now. So great to see so many of you. Uh, I do want to know, but while you're chatting with us, do us a favor, change the chat to everyone so that way everyone can see, not just hosts and panelists. So change that to everyone so we can all see you. And I think we need to get Taylor spotlighted and ready to go up in just a second. We'll do that in a minute. But before we do, I want to go through some quick housekeeping things. If this is your first time being on a Gloveru webinar, I want to know. Make sure you drop that in the chat. Where are my first timers at? If this is your first time being on a Gloveru webinar, I want to see. So yeah, put your city and state or city and province in there. I want to see all of our first timers. Welcome to so many first timers. This is awesome to see you guys. Thank you for joining us for the summer webinar series. We've got a lot of great sessions and a lot of great content that we're going to share with you. Wow, look at all of our first timers. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for making some time. I promise you it'll be well worth your time. Okay, so we have at Glover, for those that are not familiar, Gloveru is a broker agnostic training and coaching organization for agents all over North America. Obviously, we have a lot of leaders that we coach and train, leaders of teams, leaders of brokerages, and we're also known for helping people list and sell more real estate. That's really the core fundamentals that we teach at Gloveru. So for our first timers, if you're not familiar, there you go. A little bit of the background. I've been listing and selling real estate now for 23 years. Unlike most of the others, I'm still in the trenches with you. In fact, there's not a single real estate coach in North America who's selling as much real estate as I am. So big difference between myself and our coaches is we're in the trenches with you. We understand what you're going through. We don't just preach something from several months ago or several years ago or something that we've never done. We only share what we're doing to win right now. And so I hope that you get value from our time in this webinar and all the other webinars. And I know you will because it's stuff that we're doing to win right now. I know the market's a little bit different today than it was 6 months ago and even 12 months ago. And what I know about that is there's a series of things that we have to change in some of our business models. And so part of these webinars, by the way, I hope you don't just join us for one because what we're putting together in each one of these webinars are things that are going to help you win right now, given the exact market that we're in today, not the market 6 months ago, not the market from 12 months ago. In fact, I know one in particular, we're getting into some pricing strategies for getting listings sold, which I know is a little different today than it was, say, 6 months ago. So I'm excited for the summer webinar series. And we're going to kick off today's session with Taylor Kerrigan, and I'll get to her in just a second. But for those of you that are first timers, especially, I want to make sure that you're taking advantage of our most popular free resources. So, show of hands if you currently receive the daily message in the chat. If you're receiving the daily message and getting value out of the daily message, show of hands in the chat for me, please, if you guys are getting value out of those. Okay, good. Yep. All right, good. So for those of you that are not currently receiving the daily message, I'm going to give you access to them for free. All right, here's how you get access to the daily message. Ready? You're going to text the word morning to 55444. Text the word morning to 55444. Super simple to sign up. It's free. Take advantage of that every day, every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Friday, with the exception of our events. If we have a summit or a retreat or whatever, I'm writing a message specifically designed to help you list and sell more real estate. We have team owners and broker owners around the country that are using these daily messages for their training platforms. They're using them in their sales training, they're using them in their sales meetings, and it's absolutely free to take advantage of. So make sure you do so. Again, you're texting the word morning to 55444. If you're in Canada, it will not work. All you have to do if you're in Canada, you just email us info@gloveru.com, info@gloveru.com, and in the subject line, you're going to put daily message. And in the body of the email, all we need is your first name, your last name, and your email address. That's it. And you'll be signed up. All right. So if you're in Canada, just email us info@gloveru.com. Everyone else, text the word morning to 55444. All right. The second big resource I wanted to share, which people are telling us is like, they're taking advantage of it nonstop because we're always uploading free resources into it, and that is the Gloveru app. All right, so it's super easy to find. Just search just search the Gloveru app in your app store. Super simple, Glover space the letter U, and it will come up. All right. Last but not least is our second half plan. All right, we just released our second half plan for 2025 at our retreat that just ended like a week ago. And we are giving away the plan. Now, you missed all of the playbooks because you weren't there. And I know some of you guys were at the retreat. In fact, if you were at the retreat, show of hands if you were at the retreat. Let me see all of our retreat attendees that were at the retreat a week or so ago. You guys all got the playbooks, either from what happened on the main stage, what happened in the breakouts. You guys got the playbook, so kudos to you for being there. So if you weren't there, unfortunately, you're not going to get the playbook, but I am going to give you the plan, all right? I am going to give away the plan to get your hands on the second half business plan, the same one that we covered last week at our retreat or 10 days ago at our retreat. Great to see so many of you guys that joined us at the retreat, by the way. Thank you for being at the retreat and for being on. Because, by the way, these webinars are going to help you with completing the plan. For some of you that haven't completed the plan, these webinars will very much help you with finishing that second half plan. All right. Here's how you get your hands on it. I'm going to give it to you for free. You go to gloveru.com/halftime. All right. gloveru.com/halftime. Halftime's one word. gloveru.com/halftime. That'll get you the exact same plan that I'm using in my business. All right, just to give you an idea, over the last decade, I have personally sold over 100 homes per year on average over the last 10 years. I'm still in it with you. I'm still using every single plan that we produce. How do I come up with it? It's because I'm using it in my business. So take advantage of that. Again, that's gloveru.com/halftime. That's right, halftime. You got it. Okay. All right, so we're going to shift gears. We got a couple of resources out of the way. There we go. A couple things I want to make sure you understand. So your webinar leader today, who I'm about to pass the torch over to, her name is Taylor Kerrigan. She has been essentially held every single position that you can think of in a real estate company. Everything from starting off as an administrative role, marketing role, executive assistant role, salesperson, sales leader. So she's in it with you as that. And now, of course, today she's the CEO of Glover Agency, and she executes on a lot of the stuff that we do in our business, which is the reason why she's the leader of our Systems of Real Estate course. And so you have not only the one that is using it as a sales producer, but also the one executing on it and teaching others how to do so at a high level. And so for a lot of you, she probably doesn't need much of an introduction, but for the rest of you, if this is your first Gloveru webinar, know that this is the person that essentially has been by my side helping me build my business from the start and helping me get to 227 transactions in 1 year, personally, by the way. So we have a lot to learn. I don't want to take up any more of her time. Taylor Kerrigan, the floor is yours.
All right, guys, happy Monday. Super excited to be spending this time with you. And when we were talking about basically, what do our clients need to hear right now? One of the benefits of aligning yourself with Gloveru and myself as a coach is I directly turn around and look at, okay, what do our agents at Glover Agency need to be hearing, or what are we talking to them about? Because it's the same things that we're doing every single day. And so when I put together today's content, I really wanted it to focus around what are like the 5 systems that a producing real estate agent needs to succeed in their business. And, where we came up with these 5, just so you know, is I literally walked right out of our office and I went and I looked at our listing and pending boards and saw where the majority of our transactions were coming from. And I said, okay, what are the systems that we follow in order to make these sources a success? And so I put some thoughts together that I'm going to walk you through today under each of these systems. And ultimately, my goal in sharing this with you is to help you see that as a producing real estate agent, we need to do everything we can to become a little bit more proactive versus reactive. And the more that we can become more proactive versus reactive, the more that it allows us to kind of focus on our business and, again, kind of always be ahead of the curve. Jeff mentioned to you, I helped him, I think I was like year 2 and working alongside Jeff. I helped him with going from about 100 units a year to 227 in 1 year. And obviously, a lot of you are going to say, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. How did you guys do it? What magic pill did you guys follow that allowed you to do that? And it's nothing other than having a very clear system around everything that we did. So that way we were always able to focus on lead generating and not necessarily get too in the weeds with income servicing. Now, that also happens by having a system around the sources of business that you work. So I'm going to walk you through 5 different sources today, and I'm going to kind of give you a tidbit of a system on each. And my hope on this is to kind of like pique your interest, because we are starting tomorrow in the second half of the year. It is our second half plan. If you haven't yet, you absolutely need to be downloading that gloveru.com/halftime and putting together your second half plan. By doing so, you'll see in the plan, we encourage you to either A, double down on a source of business, and or B, implement a new source. So my goal is if you hear these 5 sources, you might now double down in one of these areas or add this as a new source, because now you have the system behind it. Okay, so let's get started. Turn to a clean sheet of paper. We're going to start with the first source, which, by the way, is one of our #1 sources of business in our organization. It's expireds. Now, the goal with expireds, and I want you to write this down, your job is to help them understand, write this down, your job is to help them understand a different plan is all they need. Your goal with an expired is to help them understand that a different plan is all they need. And by the way, that different plan typically comes with a different agent. So when we're talking about having a system behind expireds, I'm not going to walk you through the expired script or how you talk to expired. That's Justin's with Prospecting Bootcamp. I'm talking to you about the behind the scenes system that we need to follow in order to succeed with expireds. By the way, perfect timing for this webinar. Ultimate Prospecting Day is tomorrow. If you're not familiar with what Ultimate Prospecting Day is, it is always the first day of the month. So tomorrow is July 1st. I promise you, I don't care what market you're in. If you're in Detroit, if you're in Topeka, Kansas, or you're in Los Angeles, California, you're going to have more expireds tomorrow than you would any other day of the month. And so tomorrow is a perfect opportunity to test this system and see how you do with it. Okay, so first and foremost, you had written down, you have to help them understand that a different agent or a different plan is all that they need. So what are 3 systems around expireds? First, I want you to write down mailing. One of the #1 things that we do in our organization, and Jeff, in the year that we were doing the 227, this was absolutely without a doubt something that we did every single day. We had a system around mailing to every single expired. Well, what do you mail to them? In the Systems of Real Estate class, I actually show you the exact marketing that we mail to them. In transparency, it's a lot like our listing presentation material that we send out right now. All it is it has a different opening to it that talks about being aware that their home is off the market. Some of the key things that you want to pay attention to when you're sending a mailing to an expired, and I want you to write these down. What makes you different? What makes you different? So for instance, this could be maybe you historically always help your clients get over asking price. Maybe you have the most positive reviews, which we're going to talk about in a moment too. Maybe you specialize in a certain area, right? What makes you different? Okay. I also want you to write down underneath your mailing, how are you going to sell their home? How are you going to sell their home? This is known as our proactive approach, which I help you create a proactive approach. What are you ultimately going to do to sell their property? One other thing you should include under your mailing, an agent comparison checklist. An agent comparison checklist. By the way, how do you create this checklist? Take all of the things that you're going to do to sell their home and have a comparison between yourself and whoever else maybe they're interviewing. Does that agent also have these things? Okay. So the first system that I want you to write down under expireds is mailing. And here's the #1. This is just, and you're going to see in each of these, I'm going to give you kind of like a, I don't know what I want to call these, but like boots on the ground tip. Your mailing has to go out before 11 a.m. each day. And so the logic and the reasoning behind this, for those of you that have been in coaching with me previously, you know, this was like if I dropped it in the mailbox at 11:15, like Jeff was basically telling me I should have just threw them in the trash. You have to get them in the mail by 11 each day. And the reasoning why is because if you ever pay attention to the mailbox, you'll notice that there's like a little sticker that they put on it. If you get it in the mail by 11, then that means the carrier is going to pick it up by that day, which means they're going to get your mailing a whole day sooner than all of your competitors. So you have to have a system around pulling the expireds and mailing to them every single day. If you're wondering how you do that, again, you can use different systems. We have a whole list of partners that we work with on our website. You can go to gloveru.com/, I think it's partners. And you can see the different systems like a Vulcan 7, a Red X, any of those can help you with actually pulling the expireds. But what is your process for every morning after you go through and you prospect the expireds that you send out a mailing to them? Okay. So that's a little tidbit there on the mailing. A second system around expireds that I want you to write down is door knocking. Door knocking. I'll tell you, in our biggest years of production, it was my responsibility every single year or every single day that when Jeff was going out on a listing appointment, let's just say he was going to Cherry Hill Village in Canton. It was my responsibility to go into our system and find 2 to 3 expireds that were nearby that he could door knock. Now, we'll always tell you there's different types of contacts, right? There's a texting contact, there's a phone conversation contact, there's an email contact. Your most effective form of contact is going to be face-to-face with that person. So it's my job as your coach to tell you that you really want this expired. If you see it and you're like, man, I know that I can sell that one. I know I have a plan that can help this client get that home sold. Go out and door knock them. And the great system behind it is every single time you have a showing, you have a listing appointment, say that you have a client meeting, a walkthrough, an inspection, I don't care what it is, hold yourself accountable to having a system that you go into your Vulcan, your Red X, whatever program you're using, and you go and find 2 or 3 properties that you can door knock on the way. Jeff had a great conversation with our team today. Say your office is 30 minutes away from your house. Look on that entire 30-minute drive between your office and your house, what expireds are up that you can go and door knock on your way home. Make it part of your routine. And again, I teach you in the Systems of Real Estate course basically what you're dropping off to them. By the way, it's pretty much the same thing that we mail to them. I don't know, Jeff, it looks like you wanted to add something there. Did you have anything to add?
No. That's just, I mean, yeah, that's just kind of around the conversation of, you really have 2 markets and all the markets in between that you could work at a high level. The market that you are surrounding your home, the market surrounding your office, and all the towns or cities in between. And so when it comes to putting together an expired kind of drop-off plan, look at everything in between where your home is, where your office is. Now, obviously, if your office is near your home, then you're going to do it a little bit differently. But if you're someone who lives a little further away from your office, that's a great way to use your commute time.
Yep. And for Pablo's question, Jeff, the script that we're using is just the same expired script, right?
Yeah, the same one you use over the phone is the same one you use at the door.
Yep. And now there's obviously more that we can cover with door knocking, but that's the basis. Going into Ultimate Prospecting Day tomorrow, I just want you to think about number 1, how can we mail them? And also 2, how can we door knock them? Because if we're not able, I always jokingly said, especially with the mailing, years ago, Jeff came to me and said like, hey, for the people who aren't answering the door, like, I need you to figure out a way to get in their house. I'm like, Jeff, like, you're asking me to like break in to these people's houses? Like, I like you a lot and I know you're my boss, but are you asking me to like do a burglary? And he said, no, I want you to figure out a way to get on their table. And so what we decided with that was the expired mailing. Listen, if they're not picking up the phone, if we can't get them to answer the phone, how do we still get in front of them? That's the mailing. And obviously, secondly, is the door knocking. Okay, so there is your first option, expired system. Let's talk about the next system. By the way, this is one of my favorites. It is online reviews. What is the system around online reviews? So number 2, I want you to write down, again, online reviews. And the reason why this is important, and again, for those of you that have been to Gloveru coaching before, you know that we will always say a seller's mind is made up on you 50% of the way before you even step foot in their door. A seller's mind is made up on you 50% of the way until even before you get to step foot in their door. And how does that happen? Well, it's by having a killer online presence. So I will tell you, if you walk over to our listing and pending boards right now, you will see next to Devontae's name, Zillow reviews. You will see next to Dave's name, Google reviews. We have those opportunities because we've done such a good job at getting our clients to write online reviews. Now, there is a video out there. I'm sure if you went to the Gloveru YouTube, you could find it. It's about the 5-star review program. We'll cover it again in depth in the Systems of Real Estate course. It takes me like 90 minutes or 2 hours to walk you through the entire thing. But what I want you to write down under online reviews is, what is your system for making sure that every single person writes a review on you? Now, I will tell you 2 things that we do that you can write down as a hint. Number 1, you want to ask them to write 1 review, but copy and paste it on 3 different websites. So you're going to coach them on writing 1 review, but you're going to ask them to copy and paste it on 3 different sites. The 3 sites that we focus on Zillow. Tell me what you want about them, whatever, good, bad, right, or wrong. Consumers are still using them, so your presence on Zillow should be strong. The second site I want you to write down is Google. Again, I don't know about you, but so many times we just Google it, right? So Google, making sure that you have a strong presence there. And then your third site that you want to make sure that you're writing reviews on, we personally use Facebook. And the reason why we always ask our clients to write on Facebook is because when they do, then it notifies all of their friends as well. It'll show up in their news feed that they recommended you, which helps with exposure. Okay, so we're coaching our clients on writing 3 reviews on 3 different websites. Now, here's the big important thing, and this is, again, I'm going to call this like the boots on the ground tip. You want to make sure that you give them some examples of what you're looking for. So you'll see, again, we coach you to give examples of 2 or 3 reviews as a guide for them. Now, the reason why we're doing that is because nothing against the Mark was great to work with, 10 out of 10, love working with him. But how does that really help you with getting your next transaction? It doesn't, right? So the more that we can make sure that we are coaching them on what we're looking for, of essentially like, hey, Jeff was great. He helped me sell my house when I wasn't able, to list it previously with another agent. I'm so glad, I was able to meet him and he was able to get the home sold. That helps you with getting your next deal. Okay. And you'll actually see in the Systems of Real Estate course, we actually teach you on taking those same reviews and turning around and using them in your presentation. So when we're talking about door knocking and expired, imagine Mark shows up and he goes and door knocks and expired. And now he has an opportunity to basically say, hey, don't just take it from me. Look at the other expireds I were able to help as well. Okay. So that's why that's so important. So your second source, system around sources, is online reviews. We want to make sure that, again, we're coaching them on 3 reviews on 3 different sites. And then we also want to make sure that we're coaching them on essentially what it is that we're looking for. Okay. Your next source. I want you to write down hybrid farming. Here's your next system, hybrid farming. Okay. So let's talk about hybrid farming. So Jeff, this has been a huge source of mine. Essentially, when I wanted to become the director of sales for Gloveru Agency, Jeff told me that in order for you to lead others, you have to be walking right alongside them. And while I had always had a hand in transactions, I never actually really took a listing myself or took a buyer deal myself. I was really kind of on the operational side of things, of getting it to the closing table. And so I thought about the different sources that I was interested in, and I thought about how basically I could double down in them and, which one made the most sense for me. And I decided to start hybrid farming. And so in 1 year, using the hybrid farming technique that we teach at Gloveru, I went from 0% market share to 48% market share in my neighborhood. And so you'll see, I kind of coach you on exactly how to do that. Just this past weekend, I just sponsored, we did fireworks, and we did where everyone was in the community pool and there was a fireworks show, and I sponsored all the refreshments that were during that. But I walk you through basically, okay, here's step 1, here's step 2, don't do this without doing this. So as an overview, the couple things that I want you to think about when it comes to the system around hybrid farming, this is the most important one. You have to make sure that there is a 5% turnover. You have to make sure there is a 5% turnover. So go ahead and write that down. Okay, so 5% turnover. How you figure that out? So first thing that I want you to do is think about a neighborhood. So this could be maybe a neighborhood that you sell a lot in. Maybe it is a neighborhood that you live in. Maybe it is a neighborhood that you previously used to live in, but you don't live in anymore. Maybe a neighborhood you grew up in. Whatever the instance is, those are kind of like my top 3. You want to first figure out how many homes are in that neighborhood. Easiest way of doing that, go to public record. And you want to basically do a poll of like the entire subdivision. I will tell you, it's better to do a subdivision than it is to do a set of streets. It's kind of harder to kind of pull like 7 different streets. So the more that you can find a subdivision that makes sense, the better you are. Okay, so you're first going to pull the subdivision, and then you're going to find how many homes are in that subdivision. So for instance, I can tell you my subdivision has like 800 homes in it. Okay. Now, your second step that you want to figure out is in that same subdivision, how many homes sold in the last year? So Lena, to answer your question, it is for the last year. I would tell you do it for all of 2024 because that should be a pretty good gauge for yourself. Now what you're going to do is you're going to divide the smaller number by the bigger number. So how many homes sold by how many are actually in the neighborhood. And your goal is to try to get to a 5% turnover ratio. Okay. And the reasoning and the logic behind this, and I want you guys to hear me, this is again, I guess your boots on the ground comment. There is no reason to farm a neighborhood and spend all of the time, money, and effort it takes to succeed in a neighborhood for the one sale that's going to happen that year. Why? Why spend thousands of dollars on postcards, on events, on all of the things that we do just to get that 1 or 2 sales? I can tell you for myself personally, in my farm, there were 36 sales last year. Now I had 50% of those sales. That's a good farm. That's what you want. So again, I coach you on, okay, yeah, this one makes sense. No, this one doesn't, and everything that you need to know surrounding that. Okay. So hybrid farming, you want to make sure that there is a 5% turnover. Okay. Next, under hybrid farming, you want to pay attention to, are there the 2 like biggest things under hybrid farming with really succeeding with hybrid farming at a high volume? You want to make sure that when we're sending postcards, because if you're not familiar with hybrid farming, this isn't your classic, like just sending just listed cards or just sold cards. It's being infotaining. So what I want you to write down after you wrote the 5% turnover, I want you to write down infotaining postcards. So you'll notice that when we coach you on succeeding with hybrid farming, it's not just sending the just listed or the just sold, but it's showing that you're the community expert. So for instance, we just sent out to our neighborhood the 3 best places to watch 4th of July fireworks this 4th of July season. Again, showing that we're in the community. And here's the why. Again, call it your boots on the ground comment. Because if you think about it, when you look at the sales that happen in a community in a year, I would say 50% of those sales are planned, right? People knew they were going to move. This was in their plans. They thought about it in advance. They were interviewing agents long before they made a decision. The other 50% of those moves are not planned, right? Maybe they just got a job offer that now requires them to move. Maybe all of a sudden they're now expecting a child that's going to have to cause them to upsize their home. In those instances, we want to still have the brand recognition in that hybrid farm, which occurs by being consistent with the infotaining postcards. Okay. So the word that I'm saying is infotaining. It's not just providing information, but it's being entertaining. So when we talk about hybrid farming and we talk about sending postcards, I don't want you to get in the habit of only sending just listed or just sold. You'll see I coach you on, okay, how are we also infotaining and being the local community expert? Okay. Last thing under hybrid farming that I want you to write down here, you have to make sure that you host or sponsor consistent events. You have to host or sponsor consistent events. What I mean by this, it is a bonus or an extra star if the neighborhood you farm already hosts events and you can just sponsor them. But it happens from time to time that maybe your neighborhood doesn't do anything and we instead need to be the people who bring that event to the neighborhood. And I can walk you through basically how to host those at a high level. But basically, when we're talking about being in front of the community, what I've learned from my personal experience is just like we talked about with expireds. Remember how Jeff said, like, hey, if they're not picking up the phone, how else can I get in front of them? Well, with farming, if they're not seeing your postcards, let's just say, how else can we get in front of them? Well, if we're constantly at every community function and we're constantly being front and center with them, then naturally they're putting face to the name. I will jokingly, hear from a lot of people in our neighborhood, man, you must be the Highland Lake salesperson. Anytime we know someone who's looking to buy or sell, we just tell them to call you. That's by design, because not only am I in their mailbox, not only am I doing open houses in the neighborhood, but every time there's an event, I'm partaking in it, whether I'm there as an attendee or I'm sponsoring it. And I will tell you, when we talk about sponsoring events, I'm not telling you to spend thousands of dollars. What I did this past weekend cost me all of, I think my Costco bill was $73 that I paid. And $73 got me in front of 100 people in our neighborhood where they were singing my praises and talking about me. Okay. So hybrid farming, I'm going to teach you the exact formula, but there's a little bit of an overview of, again, it's not just saying, hey, I'm going to work this neighborhood. There is a system behind getting strong market share. Okay. Last two sources that we're going to cover. Next one, I want you to write down open houses. Open houses. Now I understand, trust me, it's gorgeous here in Michigan. It is 70+ degrees. I have a pool in my backyard. Last thing I want to do is be spending a Saturday or a Sunday necessarily at an open house, unless we do it correctly and we follow the system to make an open house work for you. Just this past weekend, I had a listing that went active on Saturday. We had 60 people through the open house. We personally generated 4 buyers for the open house. We sold it $30,000 over asking price to one of our buyers. That is the epitome of following a system for an open house. Here is the system. Go ahead and write this down.
And by the way, if I can just add to this, open houses were never a big source of business for us. It's something that we have transitioned towards because of the amount of face-to-faces we can get in such a short amount of time. And so when I look at this source, it's not just, oh yeah, throw out some signs and host an open house, like maybe your brokerage taught you, or same thing like my brokerage said, yeah, just put out some open house signs. There's a method in order to actually get results with open houses. So as Taylor said, you're not wasting valuable weekends in the middle of the summer sitting for 2 or 3 hours and waiting for someone to come to the house.
Right. So here is the system behind it. Okay. First thing I want you to write down, and I know that in some markets you can't do this, so you might have to forego this one step, but I always want you to promote the listing first as a coming soon. Typically, our rule of thumb is anywhere from 48 to 72 hours, it should be promoted as coming soon. So in our organization and in my world, what we're doing is we're promoting it as a coming soon listing starting Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday, the listing goes coming soon. And the logic and the why behind that is we want to generate as much traffic as possible. We want to generate as much interest as possible. Okay, you want to go active on Saturday morning. Okay, or Friday night if you're going to take advantage of the second thing that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. So either Friday night or Saturday morning. And then you want to have showing start at that open house. So whether you use showing time or whatever system you use, you want showings to begin with the open house. Reason why, you just heard, we had 60+ people through this open house this weekend. You guys probably remember from high school the classic supply and demand. The more people that look interested, the more that they want, right? Or I guess I should probably say, I guess it's not supply and demand. It's kind of just the classic like interest in the property, right? The more of a line out the door, oh my gosh, look at the interest that all of these people have in it. I might want it too. By having 60 people through the open house, now we generate a sense of urgency. Okay, so step 2 is having the showing start with the open house. Step 3 is our goal is to have showings through the weekend. And we have a highest and best on Monday. Okay, so coming soon Wednesday, showing start either Friday night or Saturday morning with the open house. Showings through the weekend, highest and best on Monday. Jeff taught me that strategy years ago. And when it is a priced right property and you have a client who is following your marketing plan, you are now in a position that you get multiple offers to the property, hopefully multiple buyers, and either you or another agent that you work with gets to double dip that opportunity. Okay, that is your open house strategy. Now, second part under open houses that I want you to write down by a show of hands, who has ever done, or drop it in the chat, who's done a Twilight open house before? So a Twilight open house is basically where we do an open house on like a Thursday evening or a Friday evening. And Jeff coaches a ton of this at Gloveru Coaching, and it's something that we teach in the systems program too. But basically what a Twilight open house is where you're hosting that open house from like 4 to 7, 5 to 7. And the benefit here is you're getting a lot of that driving home traffic, right? For those of you that have kids, you might maybe be really busy on the weekend with kids' sports and so forth on a Saturday or a Sunday. So consider doing the open house on a Thursday or Friday evening. Now, we actually coach at Gloveru. One of the best things you can do is use that Twilight open house and invite all of the neighbors. Jeff, do you want to talk about this? I know you've had personal success with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we're and it actually kind of goes back to your mindset around open houses, is not just to pick up buyers. You have to actually think about how can I use this listing and this open house as a listing tool. So if you change your thought on your views of open houses, I know traditionally it's been this is where we get pickup buyers, and of course, if we sell the listing, that's a bonus. But I really want you to change your view of an open house as a tool to generate more listings in the neighborhood. And so how you do that is, yes, you're hosting a private open house specifically for the neighbors. And we're not going to get into the coming soon rules and all that stuff because every single state is different in terms of the rules on that. The loophole, if you will, and I'm not trying to encourage anyone to break any rules. So, of course, I would always check with your broker on this. This is not a public opportunity for anyone to view the house. This is actually just a party at the home for the neighbors. All right. So, again, you know your rules better than I do. And one way I have found that many agents have gotten around this rule in their state about what they can do or can't do as it relates to coming soons is this is not a public open house. This is a private party. And the party, I mean, again, kind of going back to Taylor's point, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars. I mean, we're talking maybe a few $100s, a few bottles of wine, maybe you have some cocktails, maybe you have some mocktails, some sparkling water, whatever, and you're inviting just the neighbors to come hang out with you at this house. And so the script that has been most effective that I want you to write down, the script that will get you more people to show up, because I know a lot of you invite the neighbors. I know a lot of you are going through whatever efforts you go through, whether it's a phone call, a text message, an email, maybe you knock on the doors before the open house, maybe it's a mailing. I know a lot of you invite the neighbors, but the mistake you're making is you're inviting the neighbors to your event. You're inviting them to your open house. You're inviting them to your special event. You need to change your script to you're inviting them to the seller's event. So it would sound something to this effect. Hi, my name's, Realtor Jeff Glover. I'm stopping by today because your neighbors, the Johnsons, asked me to invite you to their open house or event tonight or whatever it is. That this script will work. This script, whether you do like a Twilight private event for the neighbors only, or you're just simply going to say, Jeff, I'm not going to do a Twilight event just for the neighbors, but I do want to invite the neighbors to the public open house. Fine. That's fine. You can do either. No matter what you do, whether it's a private event just for the neighbors or you're inviting them to the public open house, I need you to change your script to I was stopping by because your neighbors, the Johnsons, asked me to invite you to their open house later this afternoon or this weekend. Write that down. Your neighbors, the blank, asked me to stop by and invite you to their open house or private event or whatever it is this afternoon, this evening. When you change the invite from coming from them, you're just the messenger now. You're just the messenger now. They will show up. If you're wondering why you invite a bunch of neighbors and no one shows up, that's why. They think that you're going to sell them on something. When you're inviting them on behalf of the homeowner, you're going to get more of the neighbors to show up, and those are potential sellers.
Love it. Okay, let's talk about our last system. And by the way, this is one of my favorite systems. When I look at the growth of Glover Agency over the last couple of years, obviously it attributes to many things. And one of the things that we paid the most attention to is how we showed love to our database. Jeff will be the first to tell you, years ago, we were really transactional, right? We followed the, hey, real estate is a contact sport. The more people you talk to, the more you will do. And what we started to realize is the more that we show value to the people who are in our database, the more business that we will get from them. So the last system that I want you to write down is the database system. Okay, the database system. And the first thing that I want you to write down before I cover this is there's really 5 different types of databases. All right, and I want you to write down these 5 because on some of these things that I'm going to share with you here, maybe you do with one of the databases, but not the other. You'll see what I mean when I start to do a share screen here. But I want to start by sharing the 5 types of databases. Okay, so write these down. Number one, it's your past client and sphere database. It's your past client and sphere database. Past client and sphere database, okay? Your second database I want you to write down, it's your CRM database, CRM. So for those of you that have been at Gloveru events before, you might remember this is kind of like your exchange database. It's kind of one and the same. What I put in the CRM database is, for instance, someone you meet at an open house, right? You did the open house system that we just covered. You met someone, they were really maybe only interested in that property, but you have their name, their phone number, and their email. Throw them in your CRM. Okay, that's your CRM database. Your third database is your hybrid farm database, right? We just talked about, we established a hybrid farm. This is a source of business that we're going all in on. These are all of the names, phone numbers, emails, home addresses of everyone in your hybrid farm. Okay, that's your third type of database. Your fourth database is your social media database, right? So all of you probably have a Facebook, an Instagram, a LinkedIn. This is your social media database. All of your friends, all of your followers you have on there, they are a captive audience. And then your final source or your final database is your agent to agent referral database. Those of you that have been to Gloveru events, you know that agent to agent referrals is a huge source of business. We do a very good job of helping every person who comes to our event with building a strong agent to agent referral database, because it ultimately is one of the easiest sources of business. So when we talk about the databases, there's kind of 5 big databases, and those are the 5 for you. Now, primarily, we're going to talk about the first database, which is your sphere and past client database. Now, remember, if you maybe haven't done a good job of keeping a list of your past clients in the past, that's fine. We can start today. I can show you ways that we can go back and get that information, but you know people, right? You know, different, friends, family, social circles. I always tell people, do the classic, go through your cell phone, your contact log, and grab every single person in there. I guarantee you have a database. Okay, so let's now cover what we give them, because here's the thing. This is the next thing I'm going to ask you to write down before I get to a share screen. There are 3 ways to succeed with a database. Okay, when we talk about how we grew our database over the last couple of years to where it's really one of our top sources of business, it's because we did these things really well. All right. First and foremost, what we did is we provided value to people who were in it. We provided value to the people that were in it. For instance, Jeff always makes the joke, like, if you're still sending the turn your clocks back email, you're extinct or on your way to becoming extinct, because my iPhone does that automatically. All right. So we have to provide value to the people who are in it. And you're going to see what I mean by providing value in just a moment. The second thing that you do is you have to add new people to it every single day. Think about it this way. If you just have 50 people in your database and we're not constantly adding new people to it, at a certain point, everyone in your database is going to buy or sell or refer you someone to where we're not getting more business from them. We got to be conscious about adding new people to it every single day. And now here's the third, and you're going to smile at this one. You have to do number 1 and number 2 at the same time. Okay, so we have to provide value to the people who are in it, and we have to do a good job of adding new people to it. That's your third. All right. And so now let's talk about how we add value. I'm going to do a share screen here. And I'm going to walk you through, this is our exact database plan that we follow here at the Gloveru Agency. I'm going to show you the month of July, because starting tomorrow, we are in July. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of these things. Now, I will tell you, in the Systems of Real Estate course that I teach, I not only show you all 12 months of our database plan, like every single month of every single year, but I also teach you how to create each of these things. So I know that there's going to be questions in the chats of, how do I do this? Or why do I make this? Or how do I create this flyer? Know that there are additional options for you if this is something that piques your interest. Okay. So first, we always teach in our organization that If we're not consistently calling our database, we're missing an opportunity here. And what I know about a lot of agents is the reason why they don't call their database is because you feel kind of weird calling and asking for business. Now, when you follow my database plan and the plan that we teach at Gloveru, you're not going to feel weird about making these calls because every other month of the year, you're providing value to them. If we do a good job of providing value, it doesn't feel icky or it doesn't feel kind of like out of touch if we're actually calling and now asking them for your support. If you're not familiar with the I Have a Goal script, you can get it in our script book. If you text the word scripts to 55444, and Jeff, if you could drop that in the chat for everyone, 55444 scripts, you can get the I Have a Goal script. It's right in there for you. But essentially, it's where you're calling your database and letting them know you have a goal of helping X amount of families this year with buying or selling a home, letting them know where you are year to date with that and how they can support you. Okay. I'll tell you, our agents right now are adding a giveaway to it. So again, they're leading actually the call with value and then following up with an ask. Okay. Same thing, events. We said it when we talked about expireds. The best contact is getting face-to-face with someone. So you'll see I always coach the agents that I work with on how can we get face-to-face with your people, whether it's hosting a barbecue or maybe an outdoor movie night. I will teach you the do's and the don'ts of hosting a client event because I see there's a lot of common mistakes that people make with events that can sometimes actually hinder your ROI on them. I'll walk you through what those are again in the systems course, but basically, what are you doing in the second half of the year to get in front of your clients? Here's 2 examples for you. Next, we love VIP boxes. Now, kind of how VIP boxes started was, I always admit, like, I kind of have a subscription box problem. I love, like, even my dog, Papa, has a bark box that comes every single month. And I see how happy he gets every single time they come. I know how happy I get when my Ipsy and my subscription boxes come. So how can we show the same appreciation towards our clients? And that's how we kind of created VIP boxes. And so we kind of look at a couple different areas. By no means are we sending this to our entire database. There's really kind of 3 areas that we focus on when we're sending VIP boxes, primarily people who are referral partners of ours or our best of the best clients. We're sending these kind of gifts to them. And in this particular instance, as you can see, this is just a little postcard that goes out with a lottery ticket and your business card attached to it. And it simply says, wishing you a lot of luck this 4th of July. Some of them are more like boxes where they're actually, in a box that they're receiving. Some of them are more sent in envelopes or postcards. But again, it's that little touch that sometimes causes them to say, hey, it's, Taylor wasn't really top of mind, but now she is. And especially in the summer when we're seeing more people than we normally would, it's smart to implement something like this to stay top of mind with your clients. Okay. So that's your VIP box. Oh, there's the I Have a Goal script for you. By the way, this is going to be in your recording. So as the recording comes out, as long as you watch the recording, you will see what I'm share screening here. Okay, now let's talk about, we already kind of covered this when we talked about hybrid farming, but here's the 3 best places to watch fireworks in Wayne County. This is the prime example of being infotaining. Of course, I could do a direct call to action and say, hey, here's what's selling this summer in our neighborhood. But again, we talked about 50% of the moves are planned, 50% of the moves aren't planned. So if we do a good mix of both, direct call to actions with also being infotaining, now we're hitting 100% of those clients. Okay. So example of this, watch fireworks in Wayne County, and then we provide our 3 best options in Wayne County for them to watch those fireworks. Okay. Another example, market update letter. We'll talk more about this in future classes, but basically it's kind of just taking that I have a goal call and turning it in a letter form. Okay. And then last one here is fireworks for the email. I always coach. I'm very, again, I said this today to a coaching client of mine. How can we do this more efficiently? How can we essentially still touch our clients without necessarily recreating the wheel every single time? In this example, we already have the graphics for watching fireworks in Wayne County. We already identified the 3 best places to go. Why not also copy and paste that and put it in an email form? Because at the end of the day, by hitting them via email, hitting them with postcards, hitting them with the call, now it doesn't matter what the client responds best to, we have our bases covered. And when we talk about really doubling down with your database, when I watch our coaching clients and when I watch our Glover agency agents who have taken their database business to the next level, it has happened by, again, not only providing value to the people who are in it, which is using this plan, but also by making sure that we're adding people to it every single day. And that is exactly what I teach you to do in the systems course. So there you have it. That is a brief overview of our 5 sources and how we succeed with them at a high level. Jeff, anything that you want to add there?
No, I think that it's kind of fascinating for those that have maybe been following us for a while. Obviously, I've been listening and selling now for 23 years, so our business has evolved. And as we master a source of business and we have great success and a good ROI of source of business, we turn around and we take it to our audience and our attendees at Gloveru, which is, of course, for those that have been following us for a while, that these sources and the order in which the amount of transactions that take place and closings from these sources have changed through the years. And, we're now talking about sources that we didn't work back then and vice versa. So anyways, I know she's mentioned it a few times, but there is one particular program that you do have a chance to work directly with Taylor, who is, of course, kind of known as the executor on some of my crazy ideas, but also now today as a producer herself. And so if you wanted to join Taylor in any particular or if you've ever wanted to get into her schedule, I'm not sure what's going on the screen there, but if you wanted to get in her schedule, I know her coaching schedule, her one-on-one coaching schedule is completely full. And her program, her 16-week program, Systems of Real Estate, has just been completely rewritten based on what's working right now. That's why it's called 2.0. So if you've taken it before, it's completely rewritten because the market's changed, the industry's changed. The way we do business has changed, of course, as you've seen in some of the sources that we're sharing. So, Taylor, why don't you tell us a little bit about what they're going to get out of spending 16 weeks with you live?
Yeah. So by spending 16 weeks with me, I will tell you, part of the reason why I rewrote the content is because I think I have observed too many agents trying sources of business and then giving up on it because it wasn't working, when in reality, they weren't doing it the right way. And, as a coach, and listen, our value at Gloveru is to impact the lives of millions. And it hurts my heart sometimes to see someone give up, whether it's in the real estate business overall or with a source, but really it was because they were never trained the right way of doing it. And again, when you align with us, I'm not teaching you like a hypothetical of an open house routine. I'm teaching you the exact one that I did this weekend that implemented and resulted in X, right? All of these sources are, no, here's exactly how we do it. Here's why you don't want to make that mistake. And here's why you do this instead of this. All of the questions that you have in the chat, I have answers to every single one of those because I've been doing this for the last 13 years, right? I've been learning right alongside Jeff for the last, decade plus. So when we talk about the Systems of Real Estate course, it doesn't matter if you are a brand new agent starting the real estate industry today, or you've been in the industry already for 20 years, you are going to see value in this course because it is exactly what we are doing to have the listings and the sales that we have, which last year, was one of our best years in the history of Glover Agency. And we had, millions in sales volume that we closed, 275 million to be exact. And it's exactly through these sources and what we coach and what I am responsible for every single day. And if you can't tell, there is I guess I would say a wealth of knowledge over the last decade that I dig deep. I sometimes go down rabbit trails, but that rabbit trail ends up having a nugget for yourself that will impact your business for the future to come. And so I have a lot of fun with the course. For those of you that have taken it before, you can agree. We have a lot of fun during it, and I make sure that you leave the 16 weeks with everything that you came for.
And again, I know your schedule to coach people one-on-one is full. If they want to join you for this, it's $399 a month for 4 months. So that essentially works out to what, $1,600 investment. They're gonna get that back when?
Honestly, within I've had people tell me within session 1 or 2, they've
Yeah,
already gotten their money's worth.
I would think so, because you either find something that they can save money on that they're currently doing, or you introduce a new system that generates leads that they weren't getting before. Either
Yes.
way,
So
it's win-win stuff. So, anyways, go ahead.
it starts July 15th. So it's on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.
Calls are recorded, so if by chance you have to miss one because of a vacation or something like that, you can go back and watch them later. It is great for operations people. It is great for solo real estate agents. I have worn both of those hats, so I understand how to speak to both of those hats, and you'll see that, in my presentation. So whether you're an operations person leading a team or you are a solo real estate agent yourself, I've been there. I understand in both aspects of it. But really, what I want you to hear is I teach you the why and the how behind things. And I teach you, again, like you saw today, the hey, don't make this mistake as someone who's done it. This was something that I did and I did it wrong and I ended up not getting a return. You get to learn from that 13 years of wisdom.
And for those of you that are in Canada, or for anyone that isn't using the texting system, if you just email us at info@gloveru.com, we can get you signed up or get you more info if you'd rather do it that way. That's info@gloveru.com, or you can text systems to 55444. Great to see that everyone got some awesome value for today. This is the first of our summer webinar series. As soon as you end this webinar, I want you to go back to gloveru.com/webinar and see which one you're going to sign up for next, the free webinars that we're doing right now. And if you know for a fact you need to be in Taylor's course, go get signed up and or at least inquire so that way you can get all the details and ask all the questions you want about it. Other than that, we are complete for session 1 of our summer webinar series. Thank you all for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in the next summer webinar, which I believe is Wednesday, right? I think the next one's Wednesday.
No, I think it's tomorrow.
Oh, is it tomorrow? No,
Yeah.
I think it's Wednesday. Wednesday at
Okay,
noon. All right.
perfect.
Let's go
Standing.
kick butt. All right. See you guys.